Evan, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
So tell me how you got hooked up with Moosh and Twist.
I get this question all the time. My best friend at Penn, his younger brother is best friends with Twist. So he introduced me to music. We met freshman year. He showed me a YouTube video, which the guys mentioned in their interview, Possibilities. And so I saw that, fell in love with it. Like I said, my best friend, obviously already had the credentials he has, so I just kind of trusted his judgment. And long story short, met the guys. And the thing that I take the most pride in is just the fact that it happened naturally. Like, it was totally grassroots. There was no intention. There was never a point, one thing we always say, where I asked, can I be your manager? Or they said, will you be our manager? It just kind of escalated. It just kind of happened. When that grassroots is really something that, like I said, I take the most pride in, just because it happened so naturally. So that was excellent.
So did you have a background in this type of thing, or even a history of listening to hip hop music? I mean,
yeah, I've always been a huge hip hop fan,
okay.
Big music fan in general, but no experience in this specific industry, which I've found has its pros and cons. A pro is that right now, the music industry is probably the most changing industry. With the emergence of, online music, everything that just technology itself has really changed the way people obtain music, the way people hear music, the way it's distributed. So I like the fact that I'm new, I like the fact that, I get to learn on the go and I get to see opportunities that otherwise somebody who's more seasoned and have kind of been in this monster that is the music industry. It's nice, because like I said, I'm not stuck in any old ways or any old routines that I see a lot of, a lot of older people that have been in the industry for a really long time. They're so stuck on that old model, and they're really reluctant to recognize, that the industry has changed, so.
Yeah. So with that fresh perspective, why did you decide to put college on hold to manage these guys? What did you see about them that really motivated you?
I take pride in saying that I'm the biggest OCD fan in the world, so, that was kind of easy because they are two of the most talented kids that I've ever met on a whole lot of levels. But so that, the idea of where this could be, I've seen since day one, ever since I met them, and you've met them now, so you've seen the energy that they bring. It's something that's unmatched, and I just think that has an appeal to a lot of people. I like their message, I like what they stand for, I like what they represent. So that type of idea of putting school off was okay because, I knew they were good people. I knew that I was doing something that I believed in. The actual process of doing it and making the final decision was tough. I worked very, very hard to get into Wharton, and took a lot of pride in it. But it just reached the point where I couldn't juggle the two, nor did I want to. If there's any more important time to be actively involved in the career, it's this, while it's in its, most early stages, just because this is when, any little thing can make, things crumble to the ground in a heartbeat. So all my attention needed to be focused to this. I couldn't have the distraction of any classes, and Penn's been very helpful in seeing that through, so that's been really good. But my parents are fully supportive. Everybody's kind of seen it grow from day one, and like they said, they've seen how passionate I am behind it. So my parents, would support me for anything, but especially this, when they've seen, they've seen the numbers of fans that we're getting, they've seen the places that we're able to travel. So they recognize, that it's an excellent opportunity, and I'm the happiest kid in the world right now. So that's something that I don't think anybody would want to change.
Right. So tell us what a manager of a hip-hop duo does. What are your responsibilities?
A lot. It's really adaptive. My main, if I were to write it down as a job description, my job is to be the intermediary between all the people talking that want to talk to the guys. My job exists so they can focus on music. They don't always focus on music because they care so much about what they do, so they get very sidetracked. So that makes the job a little more difficult. But my job is meant to be there so they can go in a studio, record, hassle-free, and make the music that they love to make. And then dealing, with actually obtaining the shows, talking to our agent, talking to our lawyers, talking to labels that are interested. That's all redirected to me, because if not, the guys wouldn't have a single minute to their own or to be creative like they are. They just wouldn't have the time to do that. So my job exists solely for that. So I mean, one day, I can be on the road with the guys, whether that's, setting up, making sure all the tech gear is fine, from little things, making sure our hospitality is okay, all the way, to traveling to New York, to meet with our lawyers and a label representative as well as their lawyers and negotiating. So it's just a hodgepodge of different things. And like I said, it's definitely a learn on the go. But I'm learning very fast, and I've built a very, very solid network of just a lot of good colleagues that I can really rely on and are really helping me through the whole process. So,
what skills do you think you need to be successful at this type of job? And are you drawing on your business education and your business acumen?
Definitely. Confidence is the biggest thing that I've realized that you have to have in this, because in this industry you'll get swallowed up if you don't have it. There's very, very extreme personalities. It's a character-filled industry. I've met some of the crazy, every end of the spectrum. So that's been the biggest thing, is you just have to be confident. You have to, even if not necessarily do you know everything there is to know about the situation you're getting into, you have to act like you do, because if they realize one little thing about it, they'll jump on it and they'll exploit it, and things will go down. So I'd say confidence, everything feeds back into confidence, in my opinion. And everything just kind of stems from that. Just whether it's, if negotiating, all falls from confidence, because I deal with a lot of people that would otherwise, kind of turn people off and kind of scare people away. But if you believe something should be this way, especially fighting with my age, being only 20 years old, and talking to people 4-year-old, you have to maintain that confidence throughout the entire duration of everything you do, or else, like I said, they'll jump on it. And so that's the number one skill set that I think is most important in this job.
Do you also handle marketing? I know Facebook is one way that you reach out to fans. What are some of the marketing strategies that you've used to gather interest? Yeah.
We've really utilized social media. Social networking has been everything. YouTube from day one has been that's what's gotten us to this point, honestly.
Right.
In regard to actual marketing, it's funny because it kind of, the thing with music is it speaks for itself. You know what I mean? If it's a product people like, people are gonna like it. You know what I mean? But we've really been going by the word of mouth type thing. There really isn't right now the Capital One, to have the billboards all over the world like we'd like to. But the music has just spoke for itself. So I've been handling more incoming than anything and facilitating that. But the music has just been speaking for itself, and the really word of mouth method has been going incredibly well. But other than that, my job really consists of just making sure they're actively, speaking to the fans on Facebook. They're actively, it's crazy as it sounds, but Twitter has reached that point, where it's incredibly important to maintaining the buzz. So just making sure, guys, I really need you to tweet about this show or something like that. So that's really been, like I said, marketing in a nutshell has been social media and social networking from day one, and that's been evident, the success. The numbers have gone up very, very well.
So what career path were you on before that fateful day that you met Moosh and Twist? What were you planning to do with your life?
I was planning to find what I wanted to do in my life. That's exactly where I was, honestly.
Really? Okay.
I've always wanted to go the entrepreneurial route since I was 8 years old. I knew I wanted to be my own boss. I opposed to, climbing the corporate ladder. I wanted to start my own, and build it from scratch, and make it as tall as it can go. And luckily I met, two of my best friends in Moosh and Twist, and we're building that ladder, slowly together. So it was just like a dream come true. It was like the skies cleared,
Everything clicked.
Everything. I love talking, I love being around people. So it was just really my entire skill set that just came together. And it just, like I said, it was very obvious that this was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
So you mentioned a little bit about this already, but what have you learned about the music industry? You said it's a character-filled place. What else have you learned? What are some of the things about the business side of it that you really didn't know?
It's very much like junior high school all over again. A colleague of mine told me that one day, like at the beginning of this summer. Very small. It's much smaller than what I thought it was. You hear the music industry and you just think there's so many people involved in that, you know, just because it's everywhere.
Right.
But it's very, very small. The players are the players. You know, once you recognize who makes the calls, you know, the companies that can really, they're the ones that make things happen. That's a very, very small group, which is something I didn't know from the outside perspective. But the business itself is very, very focused around a very small core of companies. That really hold a lot of sway in the way everything goes, what you hear on the radio. You know, I had no idea, you know, how tough it is to actually get on the radio, how much money is actually behind getting on the radio. It's a whole different monster than what people think. People think you can make a great song and, you know, it can be playing through the radio just because people like it.
Right.
And it's just not the way things work. So it's really, I mean, overall, I've learned that there's 20 more steps than what I thought there would be on any endeavor in the music industry. It's very drawn out. There's a lot to go through that from the average fan of music or from the outside perspective, you just wouldn't know about. So that's been one thing that I've learned a lot is things take time. There's a lot of hoops to jump through.
But it sounds like you've been gaining legitimacy amongst your peers in the music industry, and that people are starting to listen and people are starting to make good decisions on the behalf of your group. Is that true, do you feel?
Yeah, no, without a doubt, without a doubt. One thing that's been difficult for me is fighting my age stereotype. I mean, I'm 20 years old, and like I said, I'm in an industry that's filled, a young industry, so to say, but 20 is still considered, you know, on the very, very young spectrum. You know, so that's been difficult. You know, convincing people that, you know, like I'm capable. You know, like I said, I've already spoke to the pros of, I think, being new to the industry. But that's been an uphill fight, you know, just trying to show people that, you know, age sometimes is a blessing to be young, especially in an industry, you know, filled with the characters that I mentioned.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What is your favorite hip hop song and why?
Take Me Back by OCD. I know that's the cheesiest
I knew you
answer
were
in the
say
world,
that.
but I have to say it. That's the God's honest truth, and both the guys are gonna joke
So
with
tell
me
me
after
why,
for saying
though.
this.
Why?
It makes me feel very, very happy. Like,
Yeah.
I know that sounds ridiculous.
So this
but
is obviously a Moosh and Twist
exactly.
song. Yeah.
Myself as a listener, you know, just take me back to the days. Like, it brings me back. Sometimes music just has that weird power over you. And it gives me, you know, literal images in my head of, you know, like certain memories that are totally not the guy's intentions. You know what I mean? They didn't make the song to say, you know, this is what I want you to think of when you hear it. But that's what makes a good artist is, you know, when they just naturally inspire people. And that song to me just makes me feel good. You know what I mean? I genuinely love showing it to people. You know, I love bringing it up on YouTube, showing my family, showing all my friends, and, you know, my fraternity. I love it. I love that song. So, yeah, I'm a OCD super fan, one could say.
Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for having me. It's been great.